So I have some concerns about the Detroit Lions. Ben Johnson is obviously now gone, but they have some changes at a pretty key position group on that offense and are dealing with a few different injuries there. One of those, the severity is still unknown as it happened today at practice, but combine all that with this being one of the best divisions in all of football, and the Lions could be in for a bit of a rude awakening this season. So I've got to talk about that, multiple trades and season-ending injuries, some good news involving Matt Stafford's back issues, and more right after. Alright, first up, yesterday evening got so crazy with the trades between Devon Vele going to the Saints and Sky Moore heading over to the 49ers that I didn't even get to the two trades the New York Jets made last night. Earlier in the day, they sent a 6th-round pick to the Cleveland Browns in exchange for defensive tackle Jowon Briggs and a 7th-round pick. Briggs was a 7th-round pick himself just a year ago and appeared in 6 games his rookie season, playing just 133 snaps on defense, but the Jets are hoping they've found a diamond in the rough, or at least a guy that can mix in the rotation along that D-line. However, they were not done adding to the interior of that D-line because later on in the evening they traded for Vikings defensive tackle Harrison Phillips, sending Minnesota a 2026 6th-rounder and a 2027 6th and 7th-round pick swap. To make room for these guys, by the way, New York placed defensive lineman Rashad Weaver on IR and released defensive tackle Fedarian Mathis and cornerback Ryan Cooper. Now, for the Jets, I feel like this is a pretty good move here. Last year, their defense was borderline elite against the pass, allowing 192 yards per game. That's the 3rd best mark in the league, but their run defense was just out of the bottom half, giving up 121 yards a game, which ranked 17th. So they're bolstering up the interior of that D-line that already includes the 3-time Pro Bowler Quinnen Williams, plus Byron Cowart, a guy they signed in the offseason to compete for a starting role, hasn't practiced in over 2 weeks since being carted off the field with an ankle injury. So these moves give them a little more flexibility and depth at the position. For the Vikings, I was a bit surprised that they moved on from Harrison Phillips, considering he's been a starter for them since they signed him in 2022, and he hadn't missed a single game. In 2023, he had a career-high 92 tackles, and the team rewarded him with a 2-year, $19 million extension last offseason. But Minnesota suddenly found themselves with an abundance of defensive tackles after signing Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave this offseason, plus they're really high on some of their younger guys like Jalen Redmond and Levi Drake Rodriguez, among others. So Phillips became expendable, plus this will free up a bit of cap space for them to go pursue a receiver via free agency or a trade, because they definitely need one. It is worth noting, though, that the Vikings are actually going to take on half of Harrison's remaining salary for this year, which is $7.4 million. So they're taking on $3.7 million, but also freeing up $3.7 million. Now, Minnesota's reportedly been active in looking for a veteran wide receiver. Former Viking Adam Thielen is a name that's been tossed out there, but we'll see which direction they ultimately end up going. Next up, the Tampa Bay Bucs made a couple of roster moves today involving 2 key players on their offense. Wide receiver Chris Godwin and left tackle Tristan Wirfs were both activated off the PUP list today, meaning they're expected to be on the 53-man roster when the regular season begins. That's great news, although it doesn't sound like either of them will be ready by week 1. This does mean that the team is hopeful for them not to miss more than 4 games as they ramp up while returning from injury, and they could maybe even play earlier than week 4. We'll see. Godwin's returning from a dislocated ankle he suffered in a game back in October, while Wirfs underwent knee surgery earlier in the offseason to clean up a lingering issue he'd been having. Adam Schefter reported that the expectation for Godwin is to have him start practicing around week 2, and that the timeline for Wirfs is similar. I'm hoping for no setbacks, as the Bucs need both of these guys out there. They just need them out there healthy. Wirfs signed a 5-year, $140 million deal last offseason, and Godwin signed a 3-year, $66 million deal this offseason. So they've got quite the investment in both of these players. For the time being, it'll most likely be swing tackle Charlie Heck filling in for Wirfs as he recovers. Then for the wide receiver group, expect to see a lot of Emeka Egbuka early and often this year. Mike Evans too, of course, but on top of Godwin, Jalen McMillan is dealing with a neck sprain and could be out until after their week 9 bye. So Evans and Egbuka will be the 1 and 2 for at least a few games until Godwin gets back out there. A receiver who will not be coming back for the entire 2025 season, sadly, is Eagles' second-year wideout Johnny Wilson. He suffered what was believed to be a serious injury during practice on Tuesday and is officially undergoing season-ending surgery on his knee and ankle. This is an underrated loss for the Eagles wide receiver room, as he was currently slotted in as their number 4 blocking wide receiver that's just willing to get in there and do the dirty work. He may have caught only 5 passes for 38 yards and a touchdown last year, but he played nearly 400 snaps on offense and 100 on special teams. On top of that, he was rising up the depth chart ranks, at least amongst the bubble guys, during training camp. But that's what makes the timing of the Eagles trading for John Mechie from the Texans just a few days ago pretty important for them, at least from a depth perspective after their 2 top wideouts in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Now, another receiver that's sadly out for the entire season is Patriots wideout Jalen Polk. The Patriots wideout had a shoulder injury during week 1 of preseason, but today we found out that it is sadly season-ending surgery that's needed in order to repair it. Polk saw multiple specialists and ultimately decided that surgery was the best option in order for him to be fully healthy in 2026. It's a shame because he was looking to bounce back from a rather disappointing rookie season after the Patriots took him in the 2nd round. Despite playing the 4th most snaps of any receiver on their roster, Polk finished with just 12 catches for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was considered a possible trade piece for teams in need of wide receiver help, but now that is a no-go, and he's going to spend the entire 2025 season on IR. The rest of the Pats receiver room is comprised of the newly signed Stafford Diggs, who hasn't been confirmed yet to be playing week 1 as he's coming off that ACL tear. He's been participating in practice, though, and looks just fine, so it's a very real possibility. Then there's Demario Douglas, the barefoot man himself, Matt Collins, rookie Kyle Williams, and Kendrick Bourne, but he hasn't practiced since August 1st after getting injured during a scrimmage. They also reportedly love the UDFA Efton Chisholm, and he's got a real shot at cracking their roster. As you can see, there's a lot of guys in that room, and even with Polk landing on IR, I still wouldn't be shocked to see a guy like Kendrick Bourne get moved. And sadly, the injuries don't stop with Jalen Polk, because Lions center Graham Glasgow left practice early with a lower leg injury. He's currently under evaluation. It doesn't seem to be anything too serious, though, as he was able to get up under his own power and walk to the sidelines, but it's definitely worth monitoring because he's replacing Frank Ragnow at the center position after he surprisingly retired this offseason. And I can't forget to mention that their starting guard from 2024, Kevin Zeitler, is now at the Titans. Zeitler was only with the team for 1 season. Meanwhile, Glasgow has been with the Lions since 2016 and has played both guard positions and center, so it's not new for him, but if he misses time, they'll be without 3 starting linemen from last year. Then their starting left tackle, Taylor Decker, underwent shoulder surgery in the offseason and missed a portion of training camp while on the PUP list. They're already relying on rookie Tate Ratledge to contribute immediately at right guard, and now they might need some others to step up if Glasgow misses any time with this new injury. That's not to mention that they're dealing with an entirely new play caller on the offense as well as the defense, but I'm specifically talking about that side of the ball. Ben Johnson is now in Chicago, and former Broncos passing game coordinator John Morton was brought in to be the new offensive coordinator. They're still loaded, though, at the skill positions. Don't get me wrong. Jared Goff, the dynamic duo of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, then Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Sam Laporta catching passes. Yeah, they're absolutely stacked, which is part of the reason they've averaged the most points in the league across the last 3 seasons combined. But the turnover at offensive line, as well as the injuries, plus losing a guy many considered to be the best offensive coordinator in the league, is at the very least a reason for concern, especially in that division with the Packers, Vikings, and Bears, who should be much improved with the aforementioned Ben Johnson taking over. Detroit has won the NFC North the past 2 seasons, but I'm not so sure it's going to be a cakewalk this year. The former Lion, though, Matt Stafford, has had a good week of practice, which is good news after he missed all of training camp with an aggravated disc in his back. Stafford was a full participant at practice all week, which is phenomenal news for his week 1 status. Today, he spoke after practice and said he felt a lot more like himself today, adding that he's doing more than he thought he'd be able to right now and is just trying to stack days and be ready for week 1. Sean McVay said he hasn't seen any restrictions with Stafford during practices and that he's playing at a really high level. Stafford won't travel with the team to Cleveland for the preseason finale. Makes sense. It's best that he just stays home and focuses on recovery before another week of practice. It's just good to see Stafford back out there, though I still have my questions and even concerns as to how Stafford is going to hold up this season after he takes a few big hits. And then a quarterback we didn't see today at practice was Lamar Jackson. Lamar left practice early yesterday after he got his foot stepped on, which, had to hurt. A team spokesman said he was fine, though, but the fact he didn't practice today has some fans worried. I think it's more just precautionary than anything else because John Harbaugh said that Lamar got an X-ray to be sure and it came back clean. So nothing to worry over, though maybe they hold him out a couple more practices until he's fully 100%. Another injury to monitor is with Jags cornerback wide receiver hybrid Travis Hunter. Travis has been dealing with an upper body injury going back to last week, and he didn't play in their second preseason game, nor has he practiced at all this week. He's already been ruled out of their final preseason game on Saturday as well, with the goal being for him to be ready come week 1. The Jags have been pretty quiet about the nature of the injury. We just know that it's related to the upper body, so it's hard to speculate on an exact timeline for a return, although Liam Cohen did say that if Hunter had to, he likely would have been able to participate in today's joint practice with the Dolphins as well as the game on Saturday. But of course, as long as Travis is playing on both sides of the ball in any capacity, people are going to point to that as a reason why he's banged up whenever that happens. It sounds like Liam Cohen and the rest of the team recognize that he's going to be playing a lot of snaps this season, so they're opting to sit him out of precaution in order to keep him fresh for the regular season. Anyway, with that, I'll see y'all next time.